Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's joining us live on the sofa. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Minister. Lovely to see you.
How are you? Have you got any secret tattoos at all?
No.
No? If you were going to get one, what would you get?
Ooh, good question. What was that?
I'll help you pick one.
Yeah, we can do that. I'd probably do something football.
You get like a Southampton badge.
Yeah, I was going to probably just get Saints crest. That's what I was thinking as well.
Well, after the break, we'll be speaking to the Prime Minister about why he thinks his party should get your vote tomorrow. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to This Morning. Now then, in less than 24 hours, Britain will head to the polls to vote in the general election. Over the past few weeks, we've invited the leaders from the largest parties to join us on the sofa and talk about their key policies.
We've already spoken with Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davey, the SNP's Westminster leader Stephen Flynn and Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer. But today we're speaking to leader of the Conservatives and our current Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Morning, Ben.
How are you?
I'm very well. I mean, that was incredible.
Becky.
Amazing, right?
That was quite something.
The nature of this morning, we go from the most tattooed mum in the UK to the Prime Minister.
Yes, with zero tattoos. Unsurprisingly, probably to most people. It's funny what you said, because as you were asking me, my mind straight away went to, well, I'd probably get like the Saints crest, and that's exactly what you said.
Yeah. The thing that you're most passionate about away from work.
So how are you feeling with less than 24 hours to go? Mel Stride has been on TV this morning saying, right, we're going to try and limit this loss as best as possible. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I had a very good day yesterday, long day. I was up at just before 4 and didn't get to bed till midnight or so. But I was trying to talk to as many people as possible across the country about the choice tomorrow. It's an important choice. And I really want people to know that, look, if they want their taxes cut, they want their pensions protected, and if they want migration controlled, and crucially, if they want to prevent a Labour supermajority they might have been reading about, the only way for them to do that is to vote Conservative, and that's the simple message that I'm taking around the country.
Mel Stride was talking on Good Morning Britain, basically saying, look, we're not going to win. We've got to be realistic about this. The polls are very clear, and actually now it's about making sure that the victory that Labour get isn't going to give them the supermajority. Do you agree?
No, I think it wasn't quite saying that. And actually, you know, what Mel was doing was warning of what a very large Labour majority, unchecked, would mean for people.
Which essentially means that they're going to win.
And it would mean that their taxes go up. It means their pensions get raided and taxed. For the first time in our country's history, the state pension would be taxed under Labour government.
If Labour win.
If Labour win, yeah.
So
and it means we won't get any control on migration. And Mel's point was, no, I'm fighting hard for every vote. And here's what I'd say, actually. Here's what I'd say. We just saw some analysis which showed that just 130,000 people can make the difference in this election. Right, so everyone watching who thinks, oh, this is all a foregone conclusion, it's not. Your vote matters. Just 130,000 people across the country can make the difference if they switch their vote to us. And if they do that, it means they can have their taxes cut, their pension protected, and they can prevent that Labour supermajority.
Isn't it 1 in 8 that still don't know which way they're voting?
That's exactly the point.
67% of those are women. So what would you say to them?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. We've seen a record number of people who are still mulling it all over. And that's why I'd say to them, look, whoever you are, you know, if you want that financial security for your family where your taxes are cut, you keep more of your hard-earned money. If you're a pensioner, then you've worked hard all your life. I want to make sure that your pension is protected with a triple lock plus, not taxed. If you think we need to get migration down, which I've talked about on this show before, I've got a plan to do that. You know, those are the things that I think are really important. They're on people's minds, and that's what I'll deliver for you if I continue as your Prime Minister.
That 130,000 statistic we heard Boris Johnson talking about last night at the rally you were at. I mean, Gareth Southgate has taken a lot of criticism for making his substitutions too late in the day, Rishi. Did you leave it too late to bring on your super sub, Boris Johnson?
No, what you're seeing is all Conservatives coming together.
He's been notorious. He's been conspicuously absent.
No, you know what? He's actually been supporting candidates across the country, and you've been seeing that over the past few
weeks. But not publicly, not like he did last night.
No, but what's really important is Conservatives have come together, as Boris has said, right? Warning rightly about what a Labour supermajority would mean for people. It would mean their taxes are going to go up. As clear as night follows day. It means pensioners are going to face paying a retirement tax on their state pension for the first time in our country's history. It means, as anyone who saw either the ITV or the other debate will have seen, Keir Starmer has no plan for migration, to stop the boats, bring down migration.
They would argue that his plan is he wants to smash the gangs and he's going to work with Europe to make sure that they can interrupt that flow of migration.
So what smash the gangs? You know, what, like, of course we're smashing the gangs. Of course we're doing that. And when we had votes in Parliament to give our law enforcement agencies more powers to put these people in prison, he voted against it.
But Prime Minister, the number of people coming across is up year on year, as it was last year.
There's always fluctuations.
Yes,
if you look over the last 12 months...
But you haven't stopped the votes.
No, if you look over the last 12 months, the numbers are down. And that's why we need a deterrent, Ben. And it's really simple. My straightforward view on this is if people come to our country illegally, they shouldn't be able to stay. I just think that's fair. And that means you've got to have somewhere safe to remove them, which we will have. And if I continue as Prime Minister, the flights will go to Rwanda. We will build that deterrent. And if you see what the illegal migrants themselves are saying, they're queuing up in Calais, waiting for a Labour government which will scrap Rwanda, and that's when they want to come, because Labour is going to make us the soft touch of Europe when it comes to this issue. I don't think that's right. And as I said, if you watched any of those debates, and people can go and watch the clips, I asked Keir Starmer multiple times, what will you do with people who come here illegally? He just doesn't have an answer to that question, and I do. And that's one of the big issues.
One of the answers they have come up is they will process them quicker. They will get more people involved in trying to make sure that those people that come here get processed so they can send them back to the country that they need to, or allow them to stay if they are.
And you know what, Ben? Do you know where these people come from?
Yeah.
They come from Syria, Afghanistan, Iran. So I said to Keir Starmer on the debate, is he going to sit down with the Taliban and figure out how to return people there, or the Iranian Ayatollahs? It's clearly ridiculous, right? And that's why you need a safe place to send people. That's why we've got the Rwanda scheme. And you know what? Now, almost 20 other European countries recently all agreed that our approach in doing that was the right one. So just at the moment...
None of them have made it happen yet.
No,
you know what? I don't mind being the leader. I don't mind being the leader. This is a really important issue. I don't mind being the person that is leading on this issue in Europe, saying, here's how we're going to solve this problem. Got a clear plan to do it. And again, alongside cutting your taxes and protecting your pension, those are some of the things I want people to think about as they go into the polling booth tomorrow. As Kat, as you said, lots of people are mulling it over. And I know we've had a tough few years. I get that it's been hard. People are frustrated with me, with the party. But this is about your family's future. If you want your taxes cut, if you want your pension protected, you've got to vote Conservative to get those things. So
talking of your family's future, your specific family's future, if you stay at number 10, will you have that same kind of work balance that Keir Starmer has been talking about, work and family life balance? Because you were very positive about what he was saying, first of all, about that. And then lately, the party's criticised him for not working past 6 o'clock.
I think you were on Nick Ferrari's show, and Nick asked you, what do you admire about Keir Starmer? And you said, I think his work-life balance, I think he looks after his family, does that, manages that really well. Then all of a sudden, when he says on Chris Evans' Breakfast Show, we protect Friday nights. Friday night dinner is really important in our family, so I try and stop after 6 o'clock. Suddenly he faces all this criticism from your party and saying he's going to be a part-time Prime Minister. And this is with also the underlying tension, because the Jewish community are very upset about this, because Friday night dinner for a Jewish community and for a Jewish family is hugely important.
Well, I think what Keir Starmer was saying, he was with his kids on a Friday night out watching cheerleading or kickboxing rather than doing that. But look, the point is this. Look, everyone's going to do this job in a different way. So I can only speak from my own experience over the past 18 months. And the reality is there's always work to do. There's always decisions that need to be made. And ultimately, that's what the job demands, because it's a great responsibility to be Prime Minister. And that's what public service is about. Public service entails sacrifice. And that's why we respect people who are in public service in any different way.
As well.
And I've talked about that as well, Ben, because I love my girls, as we were just chatting about in the break. And one of the things I've spoken about a lot is that doing this job means I'm not as good as dad, I'm not as good a husband as I would love to be. And that comes with the territory of being in public service and having the responsibility to be Prime Minister, to do a great job for everyone who's watching, and that's what I do. I work day, if you ask me, Kat, what will I do? That I will work day and night, as I have done, to make a difference to people's lives. That's why I'm in this. It's an enormous privilege to have this job, and I'm always very grateful for what this country has done for my family. I welcome my grandparents here. 2 generations later, my grandparents said very little. Here I am sitting here chatting to you. So I love my country for what it's done for my family, and I'm in this to work my socks off so I can make that same difference to everybody else. That's how I approach this job.
When you got the leadership and you became Prime Minister, you said this government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability at every level. Trust is earned. Do you feel like you've delivered that, Rishi? Because it has been a particularly torrid period of your premiership, and more recently during the campaign there's been a number of occasions when I would say that professionalism, integrity, and accountability hasn't been delivered.
No, well, look, actually, I am proud of the campaign, and specifically because it's shone a spotlight on what Labour would do for everyone's family finances and raise their taxes.
Not talking about Labour now, we're talking about the Tories, we're talking about your campaign.
That's a big part of the campaign.
So things like
highlighting that
leaving
choice for
D-Day
people
early and upsetting those veterans and those families, because everybody's thinking, what is the moral compass of somebody who doesn't believe staying there to be for the whole service, the whole ceremony?
Yeah, and I apologise at the
wrong.
time, and I said that was a mistake. I apologise straight away.
And what about the betting scandal as well, though, Prime Minister? The betting scandal, which I know that you would have been furious about, but people, close aides of yours, were betting on the date of the election. We've seen more betting that's happened in the politics as well. That doesn't feel like there's integrity, professionalism and accountability.
Well, I was furious when I heard about those allegations, and that's why I said we would take action as we had done after conducting an internal inquiry straight away, which has suspended 2 candidates. And
that damages trust, though, doesn't it?
And if anyone has broken the rules, of course they should face the full consequences of the law. And it's right that the right agencies are independently looking at those things. And I've been very clear, if anyone is found to have done anything wrong, I'll kick them out of the Conservative Party. But you talk about trust in politics, man, and rightly so. And someone was asking me about this yesterday when I was in Oxfordshire, just talking to some employees. And I said to them, look, you can look at my track record, right? When, I believe in things, I have the courage of my convictions, and I get that not everyone's going to agree with me, but at least you know where I stand. And you saw that when I was competing against Liz Truss in the leadership election. Actually, I came here to talk about it on the show, and everyone said the same thing to me then. You're behind in the polls, no one's listening to you, why are you bothering? I said, well, I believe this is right for our country. People may not want to hear it, but I think my answer on the economy is right, and I want to make sure everyone hears it. And I kept going till the end, and in that case, I was proved right, even though it was difficult. And that's who I am. And that's why people can trust me now when I warn about the dangers of what Labour would do to our economy and to put up their taxes. And you talk about professionalism. I was very clear when I got this job. Here are the things that I want to do: halve inflation, stop the votes, grow the economy. And that's what politics should be about, being able to be held accountable for things. Keir Starmer can't tell you what he's going to do. Changes his mind on every major issue. That doesn't build trust in anything.
The only one of those pledges that you've delivered on is halving inflation.
No, we can go through them, right? Our economy this year grew faster than Japan, Germany, France, Italy and America. Debt's on track to fall, measured by our independent body.
Right.
We haven't made as much progress as I would have liked on waiting lists. I've been very open about that. And as I said, the boats numbers were down over the last 12 months, and we've got a plan to put people on planes to Rwanda, whereas the Labour Party have no answer to that question. But look, ultimately, this is about the future. And in me, you've got someone who has the courage of their convictions, right? You know where I stand. And, when I've been on the show in the past, right, talking about major issues, you always know where I am with it. And like with Keir Starmer, it's like changing his mind on everything.
But the problem is, Prime Minister, people have lost faith in that, I think, is what's happened. And I think that that's reflected in the polls, and that's reflected in why we're looking at you not getting in again. If you don't, what are you going to miss about this job?
Okay, I mean, just before I get on to that, you're right, in the sense, and I know that people are frustrated.
They just...
Right?
It's
been a difficult... Look, it has been a difficult few years. COVID, with the war in Ukraine, and I'm the first to say that, look, we haven't got everything right. I know that people have frustrations with me, with our party. I'm not blind to that at all. But what I would say is, look, tomorrow is a choice about our future. It's not a by-election where you can, be frustrated about something. It's a choice about our future, future of the country, but most importantly, for your family and what it means.
Yeah.
And I said, look, if you think you can afford to pay thousands of pounds worth in higher taxes, fine, vote Labour. But I don't think people can. If people want their pension protected, they've got to vote Conservative because the Labour Party are going to tax it for the first time in our history. And that is a choice. So in spite of the frustrations that people might have, you've just got to think very hard about your vote tomorrow, because your vote matters. We talked about the 130,000.
Yeah.
Every vote matters, and people can vote
the polls are saying that it looks like
and get the
Labour are going to get in. What will you miss most about the job?
The thing I love most about this job, difficult as it is in many ways, is having the opportunity to meet with people who have gone through some very difficult experience in their lives, often a tragedy, and in spite of that, they decide to campaign, to raise awareness, to try and make something good come out of that and to help other people. And you probably have many of them on your show as well. And I think that is just one of the most uplifting and inspiring things. And I always sit there talking to people thinking, God, if that happened to me, what would I be like? And if I'd lost my child to something the way they're describing, or this had happened to them. But in spite of that, they have found a way, they've found that inner courage, resilience and strength to go and do something positive about it. I think that is extraordinary, and I get to meet people like that quite regularly in this job, and that's very special.
We asked some of our viewers to give us some questions. Just had this interesting one from Scott Greengrass. He said, what would be Rishi's dream final supper at number 10 before the night of election? have you got a dinner planned with the girls? And
actually, I'll be at home in North Yorkshire.
Right.
So
What is on
I don't think we made a dinner plan. So my favourite meal generally is sandwiches. So that is I'm a big sandwich person. But actually, I always have on election night, we have a bit of a tradition. My local butcher, one of my local butchers called Kitson's in Northampton High Street, always do a special election pie.
Election pie.
So you get it's a pork and apple.
It's not humble.
No, it's a very good, very good pork pie with a special chutney and some cheese as well on top. And that is a traditional election night pie that I've had in all the elections I've stood at. I have to check in with them and make sure
it's being delivered and it's ready to go.
Hopefully they're watching and then they have it ready. Yeah. So that is our election night dinner tradition, the Kitson's special election pie.
That feels like it's going to be quite a moment for you all. I wonder, when you left the world of banking and the relative tranquility of banking, did you ever expect the world of politics would be full of so much aggression, personal attacks, some of the things you've been through? And we know how successful you've been. We know how wealthy your family are, Prime Minister. Why do you do it, and has it been worth it?
Yeah, I do it because I love this country for what it's done for my family. As I said, and you talk about my situation now, Ben, and my grandparents emigrated here, right, from halfway around the world. They came here with very little, right? They worked really hard, and 2 generations later, I get the privilege of being Chancellor and now Prime Minister. This country's done an amazing amount for my family, and I do this because I want to make that same difference to everybody else. And yes, it's been hard, of course it has been. You don't get to choose the cards you're dealt, you just got to play them. And I got made Chancellor 4 weeks later, had to deal with a pandemic and introduce a furlough scheme. Yeah. Right? I didn't expect to have to do that, but that's just what you have to do. And similarly, when I was Prime Minister, inflation was very high and the economy needed stabilising, and I worked really hard to deliver that for people. And actually, in this election, I am excited to have the opportunity to say, well, hopefully in slightly more tranquil times going forward, now we've got these things behind us, here's what I'd like to do for people, and that's to cut their taxes and protect their pension and secure our borders. And that's a choice for everyone tomorrow. Their vote makes a difference.
It is an important choice.
They can vote to stop that Labour supermajority and have their taxes cut, and that's what I'm going to be talking to people about for the rest of today as well.
Well, enjoy the pie this evening with your family.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see if we can work out getting you your Saints tattoo.
Make sure it's spelt properly.
Thank you.
It's a great logo, actually. I think it's one of the best football brands.